that it takes agents years to, in some cases, to develop. Some never do. And every agent sounds the same because they don't have a way to differentiate their value. So part of what NAEA, the coaching company I mentioned before, what we created is a proven repeatable system that you can follow, whether you're an experienced agent looking to improve your skill set and attract more sellers and convert more buyers, or if you're a brand new agent, you're able to outperform and you have an unfair advantage to other new agents, and you can beat competition that's even more experienced. So you'll learn exactly what to say, how to manage setting appointments with buyers and sellers, how to manage the presentation process. All of that is training that you'll learn as you go through the NAEA buyer and seller training, and you'll earn your certificate as a result of completing that. So when you see these requirements to upload your certificate, you'll likely want to find the NAEA training in this Skillbridge. I believe we have it laid out where you're going through most of that training right here in the steps as you go through the Skillbridge training, which is something that was different than before. So what we've done is consolidate a lot of the things into one so that you're not having to get out of here and bounce around and try to find other stuff. All right. We added a lot more content. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going over that. Tasha can, but I can say a few things in particular that we added that I think are worth mentioning is this exponential growth class. As you get to that stage, you'll already have kind of a foundation built based on the other training, but this is really a 12-week course that agents who have their license spent quite a bit of money to participate in. And so that is an advanced level course that I think is a huge benefit to you having access to that early on, as you guys are starting to focus 100% on real estate activity, or, if you're already licensed. Again, we have agents who have been in the business 10, 15 years who paid quite a bit of money to attend that masterclass. So you guys having access to that, it just means 1 minute less you have to spend trying to find clients and trying to create a predictable revenue stream once you can focus on full-time real estate activities. The other thing I would mention is this extra training items section. We added a lot of exercises that we would suggest you take the time to go through here. It will help you get clarity. The advantage you have is you don't have a lot of bad habits if you're not licensed. If you are, you have the advantage of being in this program, so you can fix some of those. But going through some of these training exercises, like identifying your core value and going through a gratitude assessment, taking a look at what your habits are and going through that assessment. Some of these are things that we go through with our coaching clients when we're coaching agents one-on-one. And so for you to go through those now saves you a huge amount of time, Usually, most of the stuff that you guys are going through the Skillbridge program is stuff that agents don't get exposed to until they spend 3 to 5 years trying to figure it out, doing less than 10 deals a year, working 60, 70 hours a week. And finally, they decide to invest into a coach or some training, or they invest into something that gives them a system that they can duplicate for success. And so you guys having access to that right out of gate, you're saving yourself 2 to 3 years of headaches if you were able to maintain that long, and you don't have to spend all the money that most of the time you would to get access to this kind of training. So you can send a message if you get stuck, anywhere along this process. I would just remind you that you can send a message right up here from the top right-hand corner. And as far as tracking goes, I know Tasha mentioned a number of things related to that topic. And so it's likely that we will continue to make some adjustments to improve the content for you guys, because with our relationship, we're able to continually add new content that we're curating, that we create, or from other sources. So it only gets better. And then as far as tracking goes, there are some things that we can do, I think, that would give you guys more visibility, that would simplify things even more. But as it is right now, I think it's great. And if you see some changes here moving forward, it's all for the better. So you guys can again, spend less time once you do get licensed and you're able to focus on full-time real estate activity. Or if you're right now licensed and you're worried about the shift that's starting to take place potentially in your market and you want better systems, which is what's going to happen, is people are going to need to have systems now because it's not going to be as easy as it has been. So even if you are licensed, again, taking the time to go through this is just 1 minute that you'll have to spend less struggling to find your next client. That's all I have to say, Tasha. If there's anything in particular that you wanted me to go over, I'd be more than happy to.
No, I think that was great. It looks like, I don't know if you have some time to answer our questions, but it looks like Ryan Logan has a question. I don't know if it's for me or you, but
let me see if I can find it, or maybe you could just read it to me.
Oh, no, he has his hand raised. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
Ryan.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So question for you, Jeff. Can we expect direct feedback on some of those coaching documents you were talking about, the clarity report, the SWOT, and all those things?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, here's, so this is unique. It's a good question. So I'll give you direct feedback if you comment. So like in the message, where I showed you, you can send a message, you can send a message to me and you can upload your attachment. You know what I mean? And I'll give you direct feedback as well. And that's a good example of, you can use messages to get direct feedback from everybody. You could go to messages and you could choose to add Jeff Quiane. It's Quiane. It's Quiane, and that would come up. It auto-populate in your recipient deal. And you could send a message to me. You could also send it to Quiane and all Skillbridge members, right? And so as you mess around with that message thing, you'll see that it auto-populates the opportunity for you to send messages to everybody who's in Skillbridge, everybody who's in the whole Gwilt Group University, just Tasha, just me, whatever. So great question. I'd love to see that. And again, everything right now, and I have spent not 20 years coaching, 20 plus years around trying to improve myself when it comes to sales and in a lot of different ways. For the last 5 to 6 years, working really closely with real estate agents at all different levels. The one thing that they all struggle with, and I'm on calls all day long right now with agents who have new agents that have joined their team and they can't get those agents closing deals. And what it all comes down to is it's behavior and activity over outcome and result. In your case, as far as Skillbridge goes, that means that the behavior activity that we need to be focused on is logging in and making small progress on a daily basis, right? That's the behavior and the activity that will lead to success versus focusing on a goal or a time frame or some abstract metric that we can't control. What we can control is how many times we log in a day. We can absolutely control that. We can control how much time we spend. You know what I mean? That can be a challenge, but what we see coaching agents is whether it's prospecting, whether it's whatever the high leveraged activity is that they should be doing. In your case, that might be going through Skillbridge. In your case, you might have 4 or 5 high leverage activities that you need to spend time doing, and you get stuck doing low leverage activities all the time. And that's the struggle that everybody's trying to overcome. But whatever those high leverage activities are, most agents don't do the behavior and the activity. Right? They don't do the behavior and the activity. They'll talk about wanting a bunch of deals. They'll set a goal to get 3 appointments this week, but they won't focus on the behavior and the activity that it would require to get 3 appointments this week. So all week, they're just talking about, I got a goal of 3 appointments. And at the end of the week, when they don't get it and they try to figure out why, the focus should instead have been on, I got to have 50 interactions with high qualified buyers and sellers to have 3 appointments this week. How could I get 50 interactions? Now I got to go dig even deeper. I might fall into the trap of thinking, all right, my goal's 50 interactions. I can't control that, right? I can't control that. What I could control is maybe how many dials, or if it's a networking event, how many of those I could squeeze in my schedule. Or now, right, those are behavior and activities that maybe would get me in front of the 50 people that would lead to getting the result. And so long story short, getting back to Skillbridge, I think the key is the behavior and the activity is logging in and making small progress on a daily basis. doing those assessments and sharing them with the group, which when you do that, it becomes real and you 10x the impact. We can all do things right here and put it in my drawer and it's for me to see, but that doesn't benefit anybody, right? Really. And so that's why you guys are all on here. I'm gonna tell you, when I have Zoom calls, I wish I could get 95 people on sometimes. I can't even get 9 people on sometimes. So anyhow.
Well, that sounds too bad. They're missing out.
So another question somebody had in regards to the clarity report. So that's a coaching document that we created a decade ago. Still the first thing that we have agents go through when they're coaching with NAEA one-on-one. It is more for licensed agents. So you'll notice as you go through the first part, which is, I think we call it GPS analysis, which is essentially current reality, getting clear on what the world looks like right now. Not what you think it looks like, or, you know, when you ask somebody how their business is, it's great. But when you really look at it, it's like, oh, wait, no, it's not when you look at the numbers. And so the first part of that is about getting that kind of clarity. If you don't have any transactions or you're not licensed yet, you can't answer that. And that was the question. Should you just go over, skip that? Absolutely. Just skip it and move on to the next section, which is more focused on setting goals. As you get through that process, you'll get exposed to like the SWOT analysis, where you'll list out strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And towards the end of that, you're planning and building kind of what kind of business you want. Everybody on here wants to have a different business, right? Not everybody on here wants to sell 100 homes when they get licensed. Some people maybe are doing it part-time. Some people want to sell just enough to be able to spend time with friends and family. Some people want to be in Puerto Rico on a yacht or something. So whatever your plan is, the clarity report helps you determine it, because oftentimes what will happen is, you know, you could think that you want to sell 200 homes a year just because kind of that's what society tells you, right? That's what you should do. I mean, you know, but maybe that's not what you want to do. Or maybe you could focus on luxury homes that are in your markets, wherever you guys are at. I mean, you know, if you're in California, obviously you have that advantage of having high home values, but you can focus on $1 million home instead of a $500,000 home and not have to sell more homes, but make more money and get more free time or whatever. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get there. I think agents make the mistake of just wanting to be the $1 million listing agent or something just because, you know, that's kind of what you're expected to be. And they spend however much time, they get burnt out and they realize that that's not really aligned with what their life purpose is, right? And so it also will help you get aligned with what your purpose is. If we can find purpose in our profession, then we can reach a good balance and alignment where we should be pretty happy.
Very much agree, Jeff. Thank you for explaining all of that. I think that for sure help everybody understand more of like why these changes were made and why these requirements are there. The requirements aren't there to torture you. The requirements are there so that way, you know, like you were saying, it makes it so that way they don't have to struggle once they have their real estate license, or once they get out of a program and they don't have that military pay there anymore. You know, this is just there to help them. So
yeah, you want to get predictable. I mean, most, and this is just statistics. I'm not making this crap up. I mean, you can look it up. Most agents sell 6 to 8 homes a year at best, and that's been in a low-hanging fruit market. That's been in a where you could. No wonder there's so many agents, because it was pretty dang easy, right, to get homes sold. And so even in that market, the average agent's selling 6 to 8 homes a year. You do the math, depending on where you're at. Again, California, you're lucky, but you also have a high cost of living. Other areas of the country are a benefit. But either way, the average median income for a real estate agent is nowhere, it's less than $50,000 a year. It's right around, I believe, $45,000 or $48,000 a year, right? That's what the average agent is doing. And so the opportunity you have is, with all of this training, you should be able to triple that your first year. I mean, that's 6 to 8. You should be, with everything that you have going through Skillbridge, if the stuff you're going through is most of it the same stuff we would put you through if you were coaching with us one-on-one, it would take probably a little bit longer because you'd have one-on-one calls and everything. So you guys are fast tracking it, but we would expect you to be doing 35, 40 deals a year by the time you got through this, on pace to, if that's what you want to do. And if you don't want to do that, there are ways you can leverage people instead of having to do all the things, right? A who, not how strategy. But either way, you guys would have everything that you need to do 20 to 30 plus deals your first year versus 6 or 5 or whatever. And more importantly, not have the roller coaster of, man, you had 2 deals closed in June, but you ain't got nothing on the board. And my next deal, I don't even know where it's coming from. And then finally, when I find it, it's got a 30-day close and I'm not getting paid until August or September now, next time. So I got to go 90 days. And I don't know when that's going to happen. You got Thanksgiving in December coming up. So now I don't know if I'm going to get a check at the end of the year. You know, it's that roller coaster ride that most agents are on. And if you've been licensed and if you are licensed, I mean, this is probably some of it ringing a bell. And so the point is, we want you to have consistent closings every month. And in order to do that, you got to have systems. And that's what you're learning here in all this Skillbridge stuff. And if you're not licensed, I mean, you know, you don't have to spend 2 years or even 2 months trying to go through all this. You already have it.
I would love to have this at my first year of real estate.
Oh man, yeah. And have everybody here to be part of your journey and to hold you accountable and to share with and everything. And that's huge. You know, anybody who's licensed right now is probably part of this in some way or form, because, you know, they understand the power of the community. Doing it on your own is tough. Trying to figure out all of it on your own is tough and expensive. So, and sometimes we need other people to give us a little bit of extra push.
Yep.
We can only push ourselves so far. Just like when you're in the gym, you're about to give up because you can't do no more. But if somebody's sitting over you and they go, come on, one more, you can get one more out, but you would have never done it on your own. Sometimes, as best as we try, we need somebody else to give us a little bit of push. And that's what 96 people on the call, you know, that's what they can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I only had 3 transactions my first year. If I would have had something like this in place, you know, that would have been, I could have tripled my business if I, had this in place my first year. Unfortunately, I didn't have, not where I am today. And I didn't have the access to, people like you in order to have access to something like this. But, this is something that I would say I would have paid some good money for in my first year. So, but fortunately for you guys, you get this through our Skillbridge program. And so, it's a huge benefit. And, having Jeff Quiane in our back pocket, definitely we see as a benefit. So, is there any other questions that you guys have before we wrap up for today? Go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, everybody. I'm always full of questions, but
no, I like it.
I just want to ask you two, you and Jeff, coming from the military, having a different set of, I guess, daily motivations, serving our country, doing the best we can do in our job. I'm just kind of curious with high producers, what is your daily motivation? What is the thing you are doing? Because right now I see myself with a lessened overall goal as far as motivation is concerned, and I'm more just focusing on the grind. Do I just keep with the grind until I get the attitude, or is there a particular attitude I should have?
Well, Tasha, you can comment on that in a second, but I would say I believe that the way to make massive progress is by taking small action consistently on a daily basis, right? I believe that taking small actions on a daily basis will lead to huge success over time. And most people don't have the patience for it. Most people call that the grind. You're just putting in the work, just like you did when you went to basic, right? I mean, you're just putting in the work that's required. Everybody trying to shortcut that process is going to find out that there is no shortcut soon enough. So, I think I would say not to go down this philosophical path, but also, you know, words do mean things. If you follow Tony Robbins, you've probably heard him refer to that before. And when we call it a grind, you know, what are we saying to ourselves? Do I want to wake up and go hit the grind every day? Or do I want to wake up and explore new opportunities? Do I want to wake up and ring the cash register? Do I want to wake up and improve my skill set? Do I want to wake up and find people to add value to? Or do I want to keep grinding it out? So all I'm challenging you to do is maybe think about using different vocabulary, right, to describe our activity, because subconsciously it'll affect our mindset, right? And ultimately, man, you're going to grind out. If it's always a grind, people are going to grind out. You know what I mean? But I think that most of what people say is the grind is the right shit you should be doing. That is the stuff that you should be doing probably in most cases, you know, unless you have somebody else to do it. The grind is usually that high leveraged activity. That's usually the high leverage activity, especially as a new agent.
And I would say too, that it's easy to get lost when you're a new agent and trying to figure out what it is exactly that you should be doing. And so I would say don't get lost in all of the stuff that you have available to you. And I'm not talking solely within the internship program, but, you know, everybody is going to tell you to do it a million different ways. And it's really about finding the way that works best for you. And until I found the ways that work best for me, I didn't see my business grow until I, kind of focused on 3 to 5 things that would work for me. And, like Jeff was saying, putting in the grind, I mean, you don't even really think of it as a grind. It's just something that you have to do. And, if you're not a self-motivated person, find an accountability partner, have somebody that is going to be there and push you and make sure that you're achieving your goals on a daily basis. Meet with them every week and, just talk about why each one of you didn't achieve what you wanted to achieve. And I got to say, I have never had an accountability partner, though I probably should have at some point. And I probably should have one at this point. But I would say what keeps me going is knowing that I'm also a team leader, so I am responsible for a lot of people. And so that's what motivates me, is just trying to, provide for my team and be able to have a successful career. And really it's about, being able to, you just do the 1% every day. And that's really what motivates me, is that, you don't have to go from start to finish, in a short period of time, as long as you're going towards that goal each day. Because, you hear from all of these high producers, like all of the activities they do on a daily basis. And then you could probably get pretty bogged down by it and pretty distracted and think that you can achieve that. And really, if you just focus on like, I just got to contact these 10 people today, that is a lot, smaller drop in the bucket that's going to push you forward than thinking, well, I got to contact 10 people and then I got to post a video and then I got to do this and then I got to do that. If all you can do is like start out with like one thing and just be like, I got to contact 10 people. And then the next week you add on, I'm going to add on a TikTok video and, just keep going from there. I think it's going to be, you're going to be a lot more motivated by it in the end, I think. So I don't know if that's the question that you answered, if I was totally off base there, but that was just my input on it.
Hey, Jeff, you talk a lot about high leverage activities, and I think it's like Parkinson's or Pareto's law that says like 20% of all actions produce 80% of results. So I was just wondering what tasks, like what are those 20% of tasks as a new agent that will get you that 80% of results? Is it universal for new agents, or is it kind of through trial and error of what fits their personality types?
It's a great question. So, pretty much the same for all new agents, I would say. And that is, but it is different, depending on what your goal is and sometimes what resources you have around you. But for the most part, look, there's 3 pillars as a new agent that will guarantee that your success, I believe, and that's pipeline building, it's prospecting, and it's presentations. Those 3 things. The problem is that every email, every freaking Facebook ad, every person calling me is trying to pull me away from doing those 3 things: building my pipeline, prospecting it, and making presentations. Right now, I got to become a Canva expert and try to build out all this graphic stuff. And then I got to get my YouTube channel all designed, and I got to be shooting my YouTube videos. And then I got to get my Facebook group, and I got to be scheduling my posts and creating my creative quotes every day, or whatever all this other stuff is, because you've seen everywhere that content is king and yada, yada, yada. And it is, but that new agent will drown in that, because the return on your content strategy is the long game. What pays for you to develop it are those 3 to 5 things that you should be focused on: building a pipeline, prospecting, and presentation. So those 3 things as a new agent are what you've got to figure out a way to nail: pipeline building, prospecting, and presentation. So how do you build a pipeline? You got to get data, and the quickest and easiest way to reach the most amount of people and effectively is over the telephone. So, I would get a Mojo dialer account. And I'm just saying this from my experience. Whether you've been recommended something else, disregard what I'm saying. But I would sit somebody down right now. I'd have them get a Mojo account so that they can automatically dial data, would subscribe to their expireds, canceleds, for sale by owners data program. We would subscribe to their neighborhood data program, where I can draw a map around certain neighborhoods where I want to prospect into and get in touch with people who aren't even thinking about selling just quite yet, but I'll be the first person to get a hold of them and be able to nurture them over the course of 8 to 12 months. And when they are ready, we'll have taken advantage of that time, right? So that's what we would call a circle prospecting strategy. So I got to get the data, and I got to make those calls and engage people. I would be looking at expired data, canceled, for sale by owner, for rent by owner, circle prospecting data, and those pillars, would all be in place, and I'd prospect that. As I'm doing that, I'm setting appointments. The appointments put me in a position to make a lot of presentations, which is showing up and explaining and articulating the value, how you can help somebody get their home purchased at the best price, terms, and conditions, or how you can help a seller sell their home, right, with the most convenience and the most amount of money to take home. And so whatever that is, then you've got to make those presentations. So if you do those 3 things, you can't avoid the results. Again, the problem is that making those 100 calls a day, which I'd say is the first benchmark that you need to be focused on, going back to behavior and activity versus outcome. I can say I'm going to get an appointment a day, but unless you realize it's going to take 100+ dials a day to get that, then you're fooling yourself. I guarantee it's going to take you 100+ dials a day if you want to get an appointment a day. When we ran ISA teams, they made 500 dials a day, and we expected them to get 3 appointments a week. 500 dials a day, 2,500 dials a week, and we expected them to get 3 appointments a week. So that's what it takes. I would say, in a lot of cases, 100 dials a day over the course of a week, that's 500 dials prospecting into your database. As you're doing that, you're building a pipeline of people that are looking to meet and sell now or buy now. You're meeting people that are going to do so in 6 months. You're meeting people that are about a year out. You're meeting people that are like 2 years out, but you have a system to qualify those people, and you're building your pipeline. And then that low-hanging fruit that you run into as you're calling all that data, those are people that pay you for that pipeline to mature. And as you get to month 6, 7, 8, you'll have 1 appointment a week that's generated from your nurture pipeline, those people that you talk to and are nurturing. Plus, then you're getting the low-hanging fruit. And there are going to be new opportunities that haven't been around for the last few years when it comes to expireds and for sale by owners and stuff like that. So, and if it's not prospecting, over the phone, just to be fair, look, I've made a lot of money over the phone, so I got no problem with it. I grew up in like the Wall Street boiler room, Glengarry, Glen Ross type of environment, and sold investments and all that. But people have a problem with the phone, whatever. Like, I'm going to tell you, good luck. But if you have another way to get in front of potential buyers and sellers, cool. But whatever it is, you got to find out what that metric is. If I'm going to some sort of local event where I think I'm going to be able to network and build a pipeline of future buyers and sellers, then how many networking events do you got to go to per week? How many hands are you going to shake at the event? How many hands do you need to shake to add a qualified buyer or seller into your pipeline? And what's your follow-up plan then? So if it's not calling, whatever it is, you got to determine what, you know, it's got to be, though, still related to, you got to build a pipeline. You got to prospect that pipeline, right? And if that's not calling, you can prospect at your, you know, all the events around your local community or whatever. But either way, you got to prospect your pipeline, and then you got to make a presentation. And, you know, at the end of that comes asking for their business. But long answer, man. Those are the three things. For most people, it's sitting down, making calls to the data, setting appointments, making the presentation, fumbling your way through it all, uncomfortable as all get out, you know, all of that. It's just, I mean, that's where you grow skills. Everybody else trying to avoid that. 5 years down the road, they're in the same position because they're avoiding that. They're avoiding that. Just like going to the gym or something. I'm avoiding it, but I know it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with that, with everything you're talking about, like going to the gym, you know, building a business, like, you know, it's all going to be, you know, you got to do the work in order to get the results. You may know what it takes to get there, but doing it is another thing. So, you know, we all know what it takes to get six-pack abs. So why don't we all have six-pack abs? So there's a reason why, you know. So. Anyways, any other questions, guys?
I lost my speaker, so I couldn't hear for a second if you were saying anything to me, Tasha, but I can hear now.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, you know,
Should be able to hear now.
We all know what it takes to get six-pack abs. So why don't we all have six-pack abs? Because we know what it takes to get there is doing the work that, you know, everybody struggles with. So. Anyways, any other questions before we wrap up here? Other than Ryan Logan?
Hey, Tasha, I have a question. Can you hear me?
All right, go ahead, Terrence.
I'm part of a team. I was wondering.
Good to hear. Thanks, Tasha.
Oh, hold on, Luke. Go ahead,
In regards to the accountability partners, since I'm part of a local team here, could I use them as my accountability partner, a team leader?
Oh yeah. Yeah, if your team lead is willing to be your accountability partner, then absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
That's funny, Ryan. All right. Anybody else? One more question? No, all good? All right. I guess we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being on. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sweet. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Tasha.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day. Appreciate all the feedback and advice.